So on this channel, I've made a lot of content about setting up your residency and company in Dubai and the UAE. But what I haven't covered is a topic that is arguably just as important as how to set up in Dubai, is how to renew your company license and your residence visa in the UAE, because obviously when you set up in the UAE, your visa and your company are not going to be valid forever. There are renewals that you have to do at regular intervals, and those renewals also cost money. So in this video, I'm going to give you a full guide on how to renew, first of all, your company license, how often you need to do it, how to do it, what is the process like, and how much is it going to cost, and also how to get discounts on these renewals, and then also how to renew your residence visa. What is the process there, how often you need to renew your visa depending on the type of visa you have, and how much that is also going to cost. As always, if you are looking to move to Dubai, if you haven't already moved there, and or if you're looking to set up a company there, I partner with the best agency in the market, which is Genzone. They have a full 100% satisfaction rating from all of their clients, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can just look at their Google reviews, you can look at their Trustpilot reviews. They have full 5-star reviews because they actually give a good service, which cannot be said for a lot of the very scammy agencies out there. They offer an all-in-one service where they can help you, first of all, leave your home country and then set up your company as well as your residency in the UAE. And by the way, if you use their services for all Genzone clients, you first of all get direct WhatsApp access to the partners for the lifetime of your company and residency in the UAE at no extra cost for any questions at all that you have. And also when it comes to this renewal process for your company and residency, they also do that for you every time it is due for renewal at absolutely no extra cost beyond obviously the government fees that we're going to talk about. So if you're interested in relocating to the UAE, then you can book a free consultation with my team down below in the description, where they can help answer any questions you have, explain the process to you, and then you can move forward from there if you are interested. So first, talking about company renewal. So your UAE company is going to be due for renewal every single year, and the cost for that is going to depend on whether you get it for 1 year or for 2 years or for 3 years or something like that, because they do have discounts if you want to pay for multiple years up front. For me, the way I did it is that I actually paid for 2 years, because if you pay for 2 years in advance, you get a 15% discount. And if you pay for 3 years in advance, you get a 20% discount. So here's how it breaks down. Here's the actual invoice that I paid when I renewed my company for 2 years. The total cost for that was 34,830 dirhams. Again, that is for 2 years. That is not per year. So if you divide that by 2, you get an annual cost of something like 17,000 something dirhams for this company. And that includes a license registration fee of 3,500 dirhams times 2, equaling 7,000 dirhams. The establishment card of 2,200 dirhams, again times 2, equaling 4,400 dirhams, as well as the actual license fee, which came out to a total of 23,430 dirhams for the 2 years, which includes the 15% discount. Now, all of these documents are going to be signed digitally, and you actually don't need to be in the UAE to complete your company license renewal. You can be outside of the country or inside the country. It doesn't matter because it's all digital. And once you have gone through this process, either directly with the free zone or obviously Genzone would do this for you if you are their clients, you're going to get your new license within 3 to 4 working days from making the payment and or signing these documents. And by the way, one thing to understand is that even if you paid for the multi-year license, you're still going to need to actually get the renewed license every year from the free zone. It's just that you don't need to pay for it again on that second year. Let's say you paid for 2 years in advance. Some other key things to understand about company renewal. Many people ask us, is it possible to change the free zone or change the type of the company when you are renewing your license? And the answer is no. So if you need to change from a free zone company to a mainland company, for example, you cannot do this. You will have to first dissolve your company and then re-establish another company in a different free zone or in the mainland if you want to do that. And the other thing to remember is that you have to do these renewals on time, because if you don't do that, there is a fine of 2,000 dirhams a month for every month that you haven't renewed this license. So if you think that, oh, I don't need my UA company anymore, I'm just gonna let it expire and not pay to renew it, you shouldn't do that, because what's gonna happen is that your company is not gonna be just automatically dissolved. It's just going to keep accruing these late renewal fees until you actually renew the company or dissolve it. So that is on the company side. So remember, the company has to be renewed every single year. Now, what about the residence visa? So most people who move to the UAE are going to have the standard employment visa, which is going to be valid for 2 years. So for the visa, you have to renew it every 2 years. Obviously, unless you have some other type of visa, like the Golden visa, which is actually valid for 10 years or something like that. I'll cover that later on in the video. And the cost for the renewal of the visa is going to be a flat 3,750 dirhams, so around 1,000 US dollars. However, right now, the free zone that we work with at GenZone are running a promotion where if you set up your company as well as get your residence visa before the end of this month, which is July of 2025, you will actually have this visa fee waived. So you save this cost of 3,750 dirhams, both at the time of actually getting your new visa and every time when this visa comes due for renewal. I actually set up my visa during one of these promotions. They usually run it for a couple of months during the summer months or sometimes at some other times. And that means that whenever I have to renew my visa, I don't have to pay anything. It is all completely free. However, there are some other costs that you should consider, but because when you renew your visa, you're going to have to redo your medical test, which you would have already done one time when you entered the UAE for the first time. And there's going to be costs for that. And that depends on the medical center you use. For me, I believe it was around 700 dirhams. And there's also going to be a fee to actually apply for your new Emirates ID, because you need to also renew your Emirates ID card as well as your residence visa. In terms of the timeline, for standard residence visa renewal applications, the timeline is 3 working days. And for VIP applications, which you're going to need to pay an extra of 1,500 dirhams for, it is going to be processed in 24 hours. In terms of the process, the way it's going to work is that your free zone is going to reach out to you, or we from GenZone are going to reach out to you that, hey, your visa is due for renewal. Then what you're going to have to do is fill out an application, or we will fill out the application for you to renew your residence visa. And before this is completed, you're going to need to complete a medical test, like I mentioned before. At least right now, you do not need to do your biometrics again, and you do not need to get your fingerprints again like you did when you got your visa for the first time. So there's only the medical test that you need to do again. And as part of this application, you're going to need to submit a white background photo of yourself. That is going to be the photo that is going to be put on your new visa as well as your new Emirates ID. And after this is done, you're going to need to fill out an application for your new Emirates ID. And after all of this is completed, in around 3 to 5 working days, you're going to receive your new physical Emirates ID card with the new expiration date. Now, some notes regarding this visa renewal process. The first thing is that you need to be inside of the UAE to complete this renewal process. Unlike the company setup, you cannot do this outside of the UAE. And also, if you let your residence visa expire when you are outside of the country, you're going to need to cancel your visa and then get a new visa to actually be allowed to enter the UAE. If you try to enter the UAE on an expired visa that you haven't renewed, there are going to be problems at immigration. So you want to make sure that you travel back into the UAE before your visa expires and complete this renewal process before you leave again. And this visa renewal can be completed as early as 6 months before it is due for renewal or it is due for expiry. However, do note that if you choose to renew this early, so let's say it is expiring in January and you choose to renew it in August, when it is completed around perhaps a week after that, and the new Emirates ID validity is going to start from the moment when this application is approved, which essentially means is that you kind of lose 6 months of your visa, because initially when you got your visa, you would have paid for a 2-year visa, a 2-year Emirates ID, but if you then renew it early, you essentially lost a couple of months of that visa that you had paid for, because now your new visa validity is going to start from the moment of when you got this new visa, and the expiry is going to be 2 years after that. So if you want to essentially not lose this time on your visa, you might want to apply close to the expiry date rather than very well in advance. The way I did it is perhaps like 2 months in advance or something like that, to make sure I have plenty of time, but to also not to lose too much of this visa validity, if that makes sense. And obviously, like I've mentioned in other videos, with this employment visa, you have to enter the UAE every 6 months for this visa to remain valid. Otherwise, it is going to be automatically cancelled. If you don't think you want to actually stay in the UAE at least 1 day every 6 months, you might want to opt for example, the investor/partner visa, which has some other requirements and is a bit more expensive, and it can be a bit more difficult for banking, but it doesn't have this 6-month requirement. Or obviously, if you want to have no hassle, you don't want to have to deal with these renewals at all, you can get the 10-year Golden visa, which actually has a lot more ways to get this visa than you might imagine. It's not just for purchasing real estate, even though that is the easiest option for most people. So if you want to understand how you could obtain the 10-year Golden visa, which would require to renew it every 10 years, not every 2 years, and it doesn't have any requirements on when you need to be in the UAE. You can be in the UAE for as long as you want, and this visa is still going to remain valid. If you want to understand how to apply for that, you can watch my full guide on the UAE Golden visa right here, where I go through all the different categories for the UAE Golden visa, which there are many more of than you might imagine, and exactly how to obtain it. So make sure to watch this video next, and I will see you on the next one.